views and opinions expressed by Edwin are Edwin and Edwin's only, all right? Not of his sponsors, employers, baby mama, anybody he went to school with, anybody he owe money to. With that being said, enjoy the video. Oh, hello there. What's going on, everyone? Edwin Pagan here. Thanks for joining me on the Word on the Road podcast, your weekly technology care package. I am your host, Edwin Pagan, who is currently awake at 5 in the morning before the Mexicans and before everyone else in his house. I'm up. I'm doing this podcast. I got to get to work later, and I didn't sleep much last night. I took some pre-workout before going to the gym. Pre-workout was still working at 12:30, as it should, and your boy couldn't sleep. But I managed to get some Z's in, and now I'm doing the podcast, man. But with that being said, if you're new to the podcast, this is a podcast where I take 3 articles from the internet that I find interesting, fascinating. I break them down, I give you my analysis, and I send you on your way more informed and more aware of the things going on the interwebs, man. I want to thank everyone who's been watching the podcast, man. I've seen my previous episode I had on the Blue Leaks, had a lot of hits, man, and a lot of questions on that. So I'm definitely trying to create more or do more commentary on articles that are that people find more interesting. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody who's been listening and subscribing to the channel, and the feedback I've gotten. That means a lot to me. I wanted to share a video real quick because my uncle's making me share this video. I thought it was fascinating. Check out this RV right here, bro. This is gnarly. This RV decides to jump the bridge and try to land onto a ferry, and then it just explodes into tiny little pieces. Like, where did you buy this RV from, bro? Wish.com? Literally it goes over the thing, and I'm actually surprised how far it got, and it just shatters into a million pieces. You know what I'm saying? Like, it reminded me of that movie Spaceballs. You ever seen Spaceballs, where it's like Star Wars? I don't know, but the RV looks like this. Literally, this is what I thought the guy this is what I pictured that RV looking like when it tried to jump over this bridge, man. This is gnarly. This is probably what's gonna happen when they decide to put autopilot on RVs, and the first version of it doesn't work very well. But that being said, man, I've been having a good week. It is entirely too hot in Florida. It was like 101, 104 degrees, man. Like the other day, I just put my lunch out in my car and just let it heat up like that. Like, I don't even need a microwave. That's how hot it is in Florida. But I've been busy. I've been working. I got out to do some comedy on Monday. Apparently the coronavirus numbers are going up in Florida. I don't know what we're supposed to do anymore. It's like 9,000 cases a day. Everybody's scared. I don't know. I feel like the end is near, and might as well go out doing a podcast. But that being said, man, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the articles of today, man. As always, man, the articles we discuss are available in the description below, and if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, it'll be in the bio. So with that being said, man, hold on, let me load up these articles real quick, get my life together. But oh god, this is gonna get political, man. First article of the day, and I never visit this website, but first article of the day is coming from the fine folks at CNN.com, which is Twitch suspends Trump's campaign account, man. So Twitch, the video streaming service popular by online gamers, has suspended Trump's channel and issued a temporary suspension for content that violates its policies on hate speech. Apparently a video from 2016 in a rally which he called Mexicans rapist, and then there's another video from the Tulsa rally where he had a very tough harambe voice about women breaking into about a young woman breaking into a house. This is really interesting because they're not the first ones to do this. As far as social media goes, I think also Reddit, it was another company. This is coming from NPR. Reddit also banned the Donald Trump forums, or a forum or post or group or whatever that had over 800 Trump fans on there, man. And this is a very interesting time, bro, because it scares me in a weird way, because I'm definitely on the side of, like, yeah, there is definitely hate speech out there. It is an issue, and dealing with it and tackling it is very important. But I also feel that, like, what we're doing here is very political. And when we start choosing sides, the internet becomes very, very interesting. And what I mean by that is neutrality, right? Meaning, if we're going to apply these rules to Trump fans, or we're going to apply these rules to Trump accounts, then are we going to apply these rules to Democratic-based groups, right? Where if they're making the same type of comments towards Republican candidates, is that considered hate speech, or is it considered comedic? I really did find this interesting, to be honest with you, because especially with Reddit, because there's a lot of forums and post groups within Reddit that are like comedic. There's a forum that I follow that's called I'm Very, Very Edgy, which is, it's not necessarily racist tweets or anything like that, but it's just things that people are trying to be as edgy as possible, and it's all in comedic favor. It's all in comedy, but I didn't see that group get banned, but then you have groups like Trump's groups being banned. And so like I said, I'm not on the side of like, hey, we shouldn't be canceling accounts or flagging accounts that are doing hate speech. I'm totally for that, don't get me wrong on that, but I do feel that there is a certain type of bias that is put towards Trump fans than there is towards Democratic fans. I feel that, like, why did they need to suspend the entire group versus why can't they just suspend individual users, right? Meaning, if I'm a Trump, if I'm President Trump and I have a channel, and within my comment sections there's people who are racist who are putting things up there, why do I need to pay the consequences in order to, why do I have to pay the consequences of people making racist comments on my channel if I have no control over that? That's the audience that is coming, you know what I'm saying? And, it could be the type of thing where we can easily troll other accounts, right? I can get a bunch of bots to start, going into a channel and automatically posting racist things to trigger something that can get that account violated. And so I really do feel that they're picking sides here, and it's not okay. But at the end of the day, these companies are private companies, and they do have the right to kind of say, hey, this is what we allow on our platform, and this is what we don't allow on our platform. And so that's kind of their choice. But I think we're in a very, very sensitive time now, where we're combating racism, and we're combating I think in a weird way, there's more people online now than there ever was, more people who have access to these groups, and so it's gonna bring those people out the woodworks. But I think at the same time, a lot of these communities have moderators, have the ability to monitor the message boards, flag certain things that are inappropriate, kick people off, delete messages, etc. And there's also AI technology out there that can do that. And so I think we should be relying on that versus immediately just canceling a channel or disabling a channel. Because when you realize that, like, bro, there's 800,000 people on one Trump fan group, I'm like, you can't sit here and tell me that all 800 of those people were, putting out hate speech. I can't believe that. I think that there is bad apples within those groups, and that they need to have a way to moderate those people or kick them off. But to completely cancel an account or a group and say, nah, you can't have that, it's only going to make people go crazier, or if anything, drive them to a different platform. And so I'm very under the under the idea that the internet needs to be as open as possible, and that it self-corrects itself. It's open source, that people can improve it, people can kick people off, etc. And I think that, when we start choosing sides like this, it puts us in a very, very weird way, in a very, very weird situation. And I think that's why companies like Twitter have been so hesitant to, be like, hey, we're going to suspend Trump's account, because a lot of the stuff that he's posted, whether he's the leader of the free world or whatever, he is still just a normal Twitter user who has to follow the same user policies. And so a lot of the tweets that I've seen Trump post, the same exact other people who have less followers have posted things very similar to what he's posted. And so to treat his account differently than other users, it kind of says that, yeah, his account is on a higher status than other users' accounts. And yeah, in theory it is, right? If you look at it at face value, it is. But I think that they all should have the same user policy that they have to abide by, right? Because if that wasn't the case, then Trump should have super user powers on his account. He should be able to get into anybody's account. He should be able to delete other people's accounts. And we don't want that. We don't want, like, in my opinion, government intervention on these platforms where they can start controlling what you're allowed to put out and what you're not allowed. We don't want that happening. I think that, like, yeah, hate speech is real, absolutely, but there's a way to do it, and completely canceling people out, especially when you have message boards that are that big, is not the right idea. And it's going to lead us down a path that, yeah, it seems great right now, but wait until we really start getting crazier and we start canceling more accounts and more accounts. Before you know it, there's nobody wants to go on this platform. So check out that article, guys. I know I kind of ranted on that one, but yeah, next article of the day, or next article is coming from the fine folks at The Guardian. All right, man, The Guardian. And I thought this was a very interesting article, to say the least, because it's talking about the fall of QB, and how did a starry 1.75 billion Netflix rival crash so fast, man. Now, I think I had done an article recently, or a podcast recently, where I talked about QB, which QB, I know you've all seen the apps for it. It's that little, it's that Netflix competitor app where you can watch movies on your phone, right? And you can watch them in portrait mode, and you can switch it over to landscape mode, and it gets all cool. And it's got all this exclusive content, bro. And what's crazy about this article is that I've been saying this for a while, is that QB is not going to succeed. I don't understand why so much money has been poured into this platform that these companies think that this company thinks that people are going to adapt. And the reason they think people are going to adapt QB is because they have all this star power. I mean, they have exclusive content from people like Chrissy Teigen and Chrissy Teigen's Court. And these are all 15-minute videos that you can quickly digest on your phone, right? And first things first, they have a paid service, right? So they have a paid service for $4.99. You can enjoy the service with ads, and for $7.99 you can enjoy the service without ads. And here's the catch about this application, right? It's a exclusive content movie streaming service, right? But you cannot watch it on your TV. You can only watch it on your cell phone. That makes no sense. And I think what this company has been trying to do, because if you read this article, it really discusses the financials and how much money they're losing. What it looks like they're trying to do is that they spent a bunch of money on stars, right? Celebrities, and they thought that they were going to bring people to the platform using celebrities. It's not going to work. It doesn't work. That model does not work. When you start talking about content these days, about funny content, about content that has celebrities in it, people are more on Instagram and people are more on TikTok than they are on some application that's exclusive that you have to pay for, etc. And the one thing I try to tell people is that, like, I think Jay-Z tried to do this with Tidal. You know, he had Tidal, and he thought that, man, if I have exclusive artists signed to Tidal, people are going to come to Tidal and leave Spotify. And that wasn't the case, especially when, Tidal tried to do this thing where they took Beyonce's album and they released it exclusively on Tidal, and they made it so you can only listen to it on Tidal. And Beyonce's album did not do well that first 2 days of sales, and then they immediately released it to all platforms, because platform wars is real, and it's very hard to get people to switch over to a platform. And that celebrity power that people think that celebrities have, where they can draw people to a company, it's not realistic, man. And it kind of talks about on this article how much money these guys were burning and how much money they were giving to artists. I mean, in one point of the article, they said that they gave $6 million to Reese Witherspoon in order to do voiceovers. You're talking like $6 million for one show to do voiceovers. That's a lot of money to be giving to one individual, versus what if it was a user submitted content and we started paying the users themselves to deliver content, to curate content, right? I think that we're living in this new generation of media where I think the real celebrities are the TikTok stars. The real celebrities are the kids who are getting 1.1 million views on a video, 500,000 views on a video. They're the ones who are organically funny and can aggregate eyeballs, versus these celebrities are great and they have a great following on Twitter, but can that, translate into viewers to an application, especially, can they get people to say, hey, I am not going to do videos for any other platforms but this platform. So if you want to see my stuff, you have to see it on this platform. I don't think that's the right route to go. And I think that celebrities like Drake, they had the ability to go on Tidal and say, hey, I'm going to be exclusively on Tidal, but they didn't. They said, yeah, we'll have Apple Music, but we'll also be available on other platforms. And another thing I think about QB is that they need to have more options available than just, mobile only. Apple Music, it not only is it an Apple-based company, but it's available on desktop, laptop, all your devices, and they have exclusive content through DJs on Apple Music. But there's more selling points on there than just, hey, we have one celebrity. And this is going to be, this is going to be a failure of a company. And I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but it's just this company is going to fail, and it's going to fail because they thought that star power is everything. And the only people who are making money off of this are the celebrities who they're paying a boat ton of money to, because at the end of the day, it is very, very hard to get people to switch over to your exclusive platform for simply content consumption, for literally just for videos, and have them pay for it. Because things like Amazon's Prime Video, it's still a service that's associated with Amazon products, right? Netflix, is probably the one that you could say, hey, is the first one that was there, and it's going to be hard to move people away from Netflix onto a mobile only platform. So I think that, yeah, can QB succeed? Yeah, but I mean, they're going to have to come up with a different model and stop burning cash so much, because I think they feel that if the more money they spend on celebrities, the better it's going to be, and it's just not. You can't buy your viewers like that. You know what I'm saying? So check out that article, man. It's at theguardian.com. It really details all that. But that being said, man, last article of the day, guys, and get you out of here, is coming from the fine folks at boardpanda.com, which is a guy who reverse engineered TikTok, reveals the scary things he learned, and advises people to stay away from TikTok, man. Now, listen, all right. I know I have done 3 different videos about TikTok, about is it spying on you? Is it a Chinese front? All right. And my opinion is constantly changing on TikTok, man. So with that being said, I'm open to changing my mind. All right. So with that being said, man, this guy reversed engineered TikTok. And what reverse engineering means is that he took the code of the TikTok application and he figured out exactly what it did. He reverse engineered it. So he kind of figured out the ins and outs of how TikTok works, right? And he kind of gave his opinion on what TikTok is. And one of the things he said is that TikTok is a data collection service that is thinly veiled as a social network, all right? And if there's an API to get information, your contacts or on your device, they're trying to use it, man. And basically what he's saying is that the way he's looking at TikTok as an application is they're baiting you in by saying, hey, check out these funny videos, while in the background they're accessing as much information as possible. And what he means by that is with APIs. Now, APIs is basically the certain aspects of your phone that these applications can interface with, right? And those type of things that they're interfacing with are, the TikTok application knows what type of phone's hardware you have. Your dimensions, memory usage, etc. They're constantly seeing what applications you had, what you've deleted, everything network related, where you've been, MAC address, your Wi-Fi, where you've been there, and it says it has these type of features where it doesn't matter if your phone's rooted or not. It can access a lot of other information about your phone. It has the ability to access GPS. It kind of talks about how it's collecting information. It's constantly collecting information. They're logging it. They have the ability to remotely push code to your phone, etc. And then there's a lot of just interesting things that he kind of goes over on this app that kind of just says there's just a lot of data collection going on from TikTok. And one of the things he says is that he did an analysis of the Facebook app, Instagram app, etc. And they're not collecting nearly as much information as the TikTok application is collecting. You know what I'm saying? He also talks about the fact that they can access the videos on your phone, the cameras on your phone, etc. And that draws for some concern, because when you have kids who are a huge demographic that are using this application, right, there's cause for security concerns in that respect, right? And so another couple of things that he said is is that they definitely, like, all the data that they're collecting is they're encrypting it and sending it back to their network, etc. And then one thing he kind of followed up with and kind of ended was, he's like, I'm a nerd who figured out how apps work for a job. Calling it an advertising platform is an understatement. TikTok is essentially a malware that is targeting children. Don't use TikTok, and don't let your friends and family use it, man. That's a lot. That's a lot going on there. And I think that there's a lot to say about this, right? I think that, first of all these applications such as Google, such as Instagram, and such as what is another one? I mean, Instagram, Snapchat, all of them. Yes, they're free services. That's the first thing we got to understand. Those are free services. And the reason that they're free is because of data that they're collecting. And the data that they're collecting, they sell to advertisers in order to basically give you the right goods, right? Present to you the right ads. And so that's typically how the business model of freeware goes, or free services, where it's like, we give you a free service. In exchange, you give us your data, you tell us where you've been, etc. And with TikTok, what we're seeing here is that TikTok is taking advantage of the fact that it's so popular to say, hey, how much data can we get on people? How much information can we get? We want to get as much information as possible. And so they're accessing every route of information access on your phone. You know what I'm saying? And it's something that you wouldn't normally see with other applications, but TikTok is taking full advantage of it, because at the end of the day, they're in the business of being a profitable company. But what this guy is saying, with the fact that he reverse engineered the application, he's saying, like, the stuff that they're accessing and how often they're accessing it is causing them, it causes for some concern, especially when you're talking about children. And I couldn't agree more with it. And it's one of those things where it's like what are we supposed to do? And this isn't the first person to say that TikTok is doing the most, but when you reverse engineer the code and you see that the severity of how much they're accessing, it kind of draws for some concern. But in that same respect, I kind of go back to this point of, okay, so if we tell people, hey, this is what TikTok is doing, this is the information that they're accessing on your device, you shouldn't use the application. I think most people are going to say, no, I love TikTok, right? In that same respect, you look at the fact that they can access your GPS information, they can access your camera, all that stuff. Well, what if the government intervened and banned TikTok? Well, yeah, they can do that, but then they're going to have to ban Instagram, and they're going to have to ban companies like Facebook from basically accessing that information, because the same type of access that TikTok has, Facebook and Instagram has on your device as well. And so I think that it's one of those things where it's like they have the power to do it, Instagram and Facebook, but they don't abuse it to the level of how TikTok is abusing it. And so I think it's going to be the ball is going to be in companies like Apple and Google Play Store to kind of say, hey, we need to regulate how often these companies can access these features on your phone. Can it be just a couple hours a day? Can it be, there has to be some type of regulation on this, because I think if you leave it be and you don't have any intervention or regulation, these companies are going to go overboard. They're going to collect as much information as possible. And the smarter our phones get, the more sensors that they have, that's more data that these companies can collect, not just on adults, but on children. And, there's a certain aspect of it that's just I'm not comfortable with, the privacy aspect of it. And so it's one of those things where it's like we're going to see where this goes. I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be very, very hard to get people to get off of TikTok. Despite the rumors, despite that it's a Chinese company, etc., most people are going to say, hey, they're in China, I'm in the US, don't care. You know what I'm saying? Snowden, a perfect example is this. Edward Snowden, when he released all that information about Facebook and the data they're collecting and all that stuff, what actually has changed? Not much. Most people are still using Facebook, still using Google, they're still using these applications. It doesn't bug them. And with TikTok, it's such an innocent application in most people's eyes that they're gonna say, hey, I don't believe what you're saying, or I'm still gonna use the application, or I don't care if people violate my privacy. And so I think that we're living in an interesting time. I also believe that there is a certain aspect of this. I believe there's a certain aspect of this where it's It's people trying to bring down TikTok. I mean, I think we saw this with Zoom.com as well, where like the Zoom conferencing app, everybody's saying it's super insecure and you shouldn't use it, etc. But I also felt like a huge part of that was companies trying to basically get people off of Zoom and use, to get them to use something else like Microsoft Teams or Skype or whatever. And kind of Zoom was the big player, and people were like, how can we throw rocks at them to make them look bad? And so it's one of those things where I also wonder if that's what's going on with TikTok. Is it really as bad as these people are making it out to be? But when you have a guy who reverse engineers and says, hey, yeah, it's collecting a lot of information, then it makes you wonder. It's like, all right, well, do I care if they collect that information as long as they're giving me the goods? That's up to people to decide. I think that, like, at the end of the day, everybody's tracking you, and it's inedible as far as like unavoidable in the sense of like you're going to be tracked. It's regardless of the situation, you're going to be tracked. But there has to be regulation, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we need to see with that, man. So with that being said, guys, we are out of here, man. That was from boardpanda.com, and those were the articles for today's podcast, guys. Listen, if our links for the articles and all that good stuff is listed below, as always, man. I want to thank everyone who's been listening to the podcast. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to like to the channel, etc., guys. And until next time, my name is Edwin Pagan. I appreciate you listening to the Word on the Road podcast. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, stay dry, wear your mask, wash your hands. Take care. Peace.
Max, what are you doing?
Watching my dad's channel.
Watching your dad's YouTube channel?